Hello and welcome to another Women's Network Australia member interview. My name is Sigrid Kaste. I'm a Women's Network Australia ambassador, and today I am sharing with you It Is Your Time to Shine, Gail Eaton-Briggs. Welcome, Gail.
Oh, thank you so much, Sigrid. It's really lovely to be here. Thank you.
Nice to have you here. Now, Gail is a business coach, marriage and funeral celebrant, and the author of Conscious Grit from Stuck to Unstoppable. Gail, of course, the first question from me is business coach, marriage and funeral celebrant. How do you put that under the one umbrella? Tell us.
Yes, that has been a challenge, I have to say, because they are they're similar in that it's all about working with people. It's all about listening to people and then helping them with whatever challenge they're facing, or helping them to amplify their strengths, helping them to have their needs met. But it is an environment that I call mental gymnastics. So every day I'm hopping from one thing to the other, perhaps diving a little bit more into my empathy when I'm working with grieving families, and then at other times in the business coach doing a lot more perhaps overt celebratory work or really strengths-based work. So I think mental gymnastics is a good way to put it.
I would say so. That sounds absolutely excellent. Is there a particular reason that you're doing those three areas of business? Like, is there a connection for you personally that you would share?
Well, it really comes down to how my business was established. So 4 years ago, so August 2019, I knew I was at the end of my tether as a member of the Tasmanian State Executive Service. I had had many years working in the government in high-level roles, and I just knew that I was having a bit of a values clash fairly often, and feeling like I really couldn't make a difference in the way that I like to make a difference. And so I had a moment one day and decided that I would leave, cut my executive contract short, and establish my own path. And to do that, I thought, I'll throw a whole lot of things out to the universe and see what sticks. And what stuck was the business coaching, the celebrant work. I'd been a marriage celebrant for a long period of time, and that was my fun stuff to do on the weekends whilst I was working hard and in a stressful roles through the week. And then I thought, well, I can expand that into funeral celebrancy. And then, of course, COVID came around the beginning of 2020. So it wasn't a good time to start a business. However, it was a great time to write a book. And so I was able to do some celebrant work, a little bit of business coaching, not as much as I'd wanted, and have the time to write my book. And I've now been able to incorporate the themes within my book and the learnings within that and apply it to the business coaching. So if you look at my website, it's a bit of a supermarket, really, of tabs along the top. And I think anybody who designs websites would look at it and go, oh, my goodness, this woman has got no idea about designing websites. And I don't. However, I will get around to it at one point in terms of refining it, but it does illustrate the diversity of what I do, and I like it that way. It it's very motivating, it's very inspirational, and these things leverage from each other. Funnily enough, I'm often, in fact, next week I live in Hobart, but I'm off to Melbourne to be the wedding celebrant for a young woman whose father passed away in Hobart, and she came here and I took a memorial service for her. We really connected, and she asked me would I go to Melbourne and be her wedding celebrant, and I just thought, yeah, that's beautiful, and of course I'm going to be there.
That is wonderful, and that certainly speaks for the diversity of what you're doing and people, obviously, that you are coming in touch, getting connected to, that you are in touch with and that you work with. That is just great. That gives you that diversity, that variety, and mental gym. I like that expression very much. It keeps you having to constantly exercise, isn't it? Just by thinking
Absolutely it does. Yes, yes. And of course the term business coach is even within that is has quite a bit of diversity as well, because I do have some corporate clients, I do have some individual clients, and I do have I'm into my third year now of delivering a program for leaders and emerging leaders who work in early education and care services throughout Tasmania. And my very early days was working as we were called them, a childcare worker. So there is absolutely, definitely a career path for those people who are, working in early education and care, as we call it now. But I currently have 75 participants in that program, and they get a combination of attending workshops face-to-face, workshops online, face-to-face coaching. I do a couple of diagnostics with them that I'm accredited in, one being DISC and the other being the I4 Neuroleader program, which is all about developing right brain capacity to deal with this VUCA world that we live in, the world that's volatile and uncertain, complex and ambiguous. And yes, so that's a busy program, and I'm really immersed in that at the moment, with a workshop coming up next week, and doing some debriefing on a daily basis with participants. So, the business coaching is diverse as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it keeps you in touch and connects you with lots of different people and opportunities, of course, as well. So I guess now I am intrigued about what is in your book. So you said COVID was the opportunity for you to sit down and think about what you want to write about. First of all, what made you think that you wanted to write? That's the first question. And then tell us a bit about it. What is in there that you found was the value to share?
So my early 20s was a really, really challenging time. And my brother, one of my younger brothers, has always said to me, "Oh, sis, you need to write a book. You need to write a book," and it's one of those throwaway comments. Um, but I do know that I learnt an enormous amount through my early 20s when I had such a challenging time. And I am a person who likes to make a difference. And it has always been, just like a little something niggling away at me, that it would be good to be able to share my story and be able to help other people who might be struggling with similar issues. And so I I did some work with the Thought Leader Business School at the end of 2019 as well in Victoria. I did the foundation program, and that program really helped me to crystallize my thoughts and the things that I wanted to, the messages I wanted to get across to other people into a nice little container, which has ended up being the model of conscious grit. And then throughout some months in 2020, I wrote and wrote and wrote the book. This is the book. There's a bit of glare on there, but there it is.
There it is.
And as you can see, the hand is holding out a key. And so that's really the core message is, I'm giving you the key, please take it. Because my story, and I'm not going to go into all the detail of it here, but the fact is that for when my issue was occurring, I did not reach out for help. And I think this is something that often people do. And I now know that had I reached out for help, I would not have struggled in the way I did for 5 years. It's not to say that I didn't do okay in those 5 years, but I didn't need to put myself through what I put myself through. And so, in a nutshell, the book Conscious Grit from Stuck to Unstoppable helps people understand that you can be trying incredibly hard, you can be persistent, determined, you can be tenacious, use some courage and be resilient, but you can't get to where you need to go. And I call that being in the zone of unconscious grit. And then there's another zone, which is all of those things, determined, persistent, tenacious, resilient, using a lot more courage, being tenacious, and adding in some growth mindset, doing some planning, setting some goals, addressing your limiting beliefs, and understanding your values, understanding your behavioral style, etc., etc. I call that being in the zone of conscious grit, where you're actually thinking about all those gritty factors and thinking about how you can amplify them to achieve what you want to achieve. But to get from one zone to the other zone is the tricky bit. And I call that a tipping point. And I can remember very clearly my tipping point. So I hope that this will make some sense, even though I haven't told you my story. But at the age of 28, when I'd been in the zone of unconscious grit for, a bit over 5 years, I can remember clearly the day that I went into a doctor's surgery. I had my little girl with me. I can picture exactly what she was wearing. I can picture the doctor, and he had his hair in a ponytail. I can picture the sun shining through his window. And I said to him, look, my story. What on earth am I going to do? I'm at the end of my tether. I can't try any harder. And he said, Gail, it is time. You need to get a lawyer. And I did. But it was those words coming out of his mouth at that particular time that was my tipping point. And I love that. And so I now use this model with many people. So I also offer a 30-day challenge where participants can work through some of the activities that are in the book to help themselves move from that state of being stuck to being unstoppable, from unconscious grit to conscious grit, whatever that means for them. It doesn't mean to say that they're going to make $1 million or that they want to make $1 million. It doesn't mean to say that they want to, find the person of their dreams via, having a holiday in the Maldives. It's about whatever is unstoppable to them. And I've had some beautiful successes with, a woman in her 40s who runs a small business, for example, and it's a service-based business, and she was charging the lowest possible fee she could because she didn't think she was worth charging that bit more to be competitive. She did the 30-day challenge and then put up her prices and was incredibly surprised. I wasn't, but she was, that none of her customers left her. Her clients all continued with her. And that's just, a beautiful kind of awakening for that particular person. And she's created a little garden now, a little space in her garden that is her go-to place where she goes and ponders and reflects, whenever she needs to. And I think she's built some sustainability into her idea of being in the zone of conscious grit. I really love that.
That is absolutely wonderful. And it is certainly a massive difference that you've made for that person, but probably also for everyone else or most others who are reading and have read your book already. And certainly applying what you have in your book makes so much sense in your business and with clients. I love that. Now, I'm a book writing, publishing, and marketing specialist, so I love to hear stories when people have a book that is directly balanced between their own personal story and the business that they have. It makes so much sense to have that interlinked, to bring your own story out there within the proportion of your business, helping other people and making a difference in the world. I congratulate you on that. That's wonderful to hear.
Thank you, Sigrid. Thank you. Yeah. The other thing that I find you may find interesting is, and I don't have it on the website in terms of what I do, but I do some family group conferencing work as well. And these are families that are within the child protection or child safety system here in Tasmania. And the families are able to access a family group conference facilitator who's an independent person. And they choose from a variety of profiles, and then the department contacts me and I go and meet with the family and, we see what we can do. And that work is my way of being a tipping point for somebody, because when I can get a family and their extended family, awesome parent, whatever configuration is relevant to that particular child or children in the room, if I can do my job really well, then I can be that tipping point for them to move from not being able to divest themselves of child safety and being able to be independent and create their own safety for their children. And I had a moment last week where I sat with a young fellow who had had a range of family violence charges against him, and he has served his time. He's now back home, and he actually started to cry when we were talking. And so I talked to him a bit about, what he'd been through, and used this language around tipping points, etc., with him. And he told me that, when he was sitting in remand, that was the point where, it's so sparse, it's such an awful environment. He just knew in every bit of him that that was the moment he was going to change. And so then I was able to talk to him about the zone of conscious grit. Hopefully that has helped him as well for the longer term. Yeah.
Moving forward with that. So wonderful. There's always another step, another another piece that comes towards it. And I do like that term tipping point. That is really something that in the conscious, you can get that picture, what that really means using those words. So let me ask you, tipping point, it might not be as strong as that or as direct as that, but joining the Women's Network Australia, did that give you some particular new support direction, or for you an opportunity to support others?
Absolutely. It has been, yes, Women's Network is a terrific networking association, and I have loved the friendships and the camaraderie and the support that other members give. And it's lovely to be able to just to know that you've got a range of people that you can phone up, or you can, contact on Facebook, or however you need to contact them, just to tap in. And for example, I was participating in a wedding expo, and I just thought, look, I'll see if any of the members have got anything that I could promote on their behalf, but would also help me get people along to talk to me. And, one of the members in Hobart gave a generous voucher for each person that I could give away for a discount on the range of lingerie that she sells. So, that kind of thing was helping me and helping her. So that was terrific. And one of the participants who did my 30-day challenge actually is now a member of Women's Network, because I was able to introduce her to networking opportunities, and that's really helped, I think, for her to expand her circle of supports as well.
That's
So
wonderful.
most definitely.
Yeah, that's really great, isn't it? I think as women, we do like to connect and support each other. And I think you mentioned that before. It's always also about knowing where there is perhaps some support, some help available. And even if it is just a talk with somebody to let your own thoughts come out, isn't it? To clear that sort of clutter that sometimes can accumulate inside, and especially when you are in business, there's times where a lot of things happen, isn't it? And you kind of get a bit snowed under with it. But another interesting thing, of course, is for you. You are one of the finalists of the Impact Awards, and everything that you've shared so far with us here is hugely impactful out there for people and in various different ways. How did that one come about? Did you nominate? Were you nominated? How did you come into being? And that you don't know?
No, I don't know. I do not know. And it was just the most massive surprise to get an email to say, and I actually emailed WNA back and said, can you just confirm if this is real or if it's a scam? Because I really, it was just, yeah. So I still don't actually know. And again, I did talk to WNA. Well, was it the nomination around the book? Was it around the celebrant work? What was it around? And I think they're going to tell me after the whole process is finished. So I'll be able to find out. But no, I am not aware of who it is or what the nomination was for. But I was really chuffed. I was really chuffed to have received that nomination because, I do think that, we all do like to be recognised in at times. You don't have to, have a big sign on you that or anything, but just, I know that others around me will say, Gail, you give a lot, so this is nice for you to be recognised for the impact that you're making, and I'll accept that. I will accept that for sure. So yeah.
Fantastic. And I think it also is a really good way of showing that I read somewhere about you that you have a way with people. So maybe the people that you had a great influence on and impact with, that somebody there nominated you for this because of this connection that you can easily establish with people is what I'm getting from that. That could well be, couldn't it?
It absolutely could be, most definitely, yes. And that would be lovely if it is somebody that I've actually helped smooth their path or, turned a little light on for them, then that is really, really, really lovely.
And that's the interesting thing sometimes when we are really focused, and it sounds like you are really focused on making a difference and helping other people as genuinely as you are and as to who you are, so that is coming back, it's flowing back to you in many different ways. And this is one of the ways to be the finalist in that Impact Award. So all the very best moving forward to see what's going to happen with that one. That'll be very interesting.
It will indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, we do have an event down here in Hobart on the 22nd of November, so it'll be nice to be with my friends and peers and colleagues and, yeah, enjoy the night and see what happens.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's come to the point where we're going to come to the close, but I'd like to ask you, is there something that comes to mind that you find is really important you'd like to share with the listeners, with the viewers, to make a difference for them? From your book, perhaps, or from the way you work with people? Is there something that comes to mind that is a really powerful or important thought for you that you think is very valuable to share?
Okay, wow. Where do I start and where do I finish? Knowing that we're at near the end of our interview, I'm going to go with something that's really, really simple, but it makes such a difference. I find that listening, really, really listening to people is so incredibly important. And to do that, so it doesn't matter whether I'm with a client that I'm coaching or whether I'm with a couple who are getting married or a group of people who are grieving for the loss of their loved one, my focus is on them the whole time. And one of the little tricks that I know has helped enormously is to never, ever take my laptop with me. I am a pen and paper person, and so they can absolutely see me listening, writing things down, looking up, getting eye contact, looking around the table, being able to get the vibe, being able to notice when somebody's, say upset, needs a bit of extra time or care. My focus is all about them. And I found that, my laptop it just felt intuitively it was a barrier. So I never, ever take it. And interestingly, I gave that clue to one of the funeral directors who I was talking to about, she was getting really good feedback about me. And so I explained to her that this is one of the things that I do. She's now adopted that as well. Doesn't take her laptop. It's a bit of extra work for her because they have, you know, things they need to submit electronically, but she's also finding an amazing increase in her ability to connect with people. So it's a little tip, but I think it's, again, really impactful and something that probably everybody that's watching or listening to this could take away and try.
That is absolutely fantastic. I love it. And it makes so much sense to really focus on the other person so that they know you are listening, you're looking at them. That is where you're establishing that eye contact connection, isn't it? No wonder it is said that you have a way with people. Thank you for sharing that tip with us and sharing all the other insights and being here today, open to be interviewed on who you are, what you do, and the membership that you have with the Women's Network. Thank you, Gail, for your time.
Thank you, Sigrid. It's been so lovely to chat with you. I've seen you pop up on Facebook and, you know, in the WNA Facebook group a lot, and it's so lovely to have connected once again with somebody who's just lovely to speak with. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really great. So we'll sign off from this one. Thank you. Thanks, Gail. And that was another episode of Women's Network Australia member interviews with Gail Eaton-Briggs. Thank you.
Thank you.